This whole set is actually forming a resting of the Dharmadatta Kagishwara Manjushri in Zargang has a loom. And so similar thing happens at Tabo's main assembly hall too. So all these pictorial devices actually add to the sense of creating a temple space within a manuscript's three-dimensional space. The conception of a manuscript as a three-dimensional Buddhist temple is also realized in a late 12th century palm-leaf manuscript of the Ashtasastrika Paramahansa from Bengal in the Sanford collection in London. The manuscript is dated with Govinda Balla's Gatta Sambat, indicating he's no longer reigning king, Gatta Sambat 30, so roughly 1195 Common Era. According to the colophon on folios 217 verso to 218 recto, it was written by a scribe, Lekaka here, Devaraja Devaraka, in the town of Kodanda Mandala, which is great to have, but the present location of which is difficult to identify. It was prepared for a lay Mahayana Buddhist donor whose name is Maitaka, son of Chinna. The donor is identified as a resident of Shajaya Grama. Again, the location is unfortunately also difficult to establish with currently available epigraphic and topographic evidence. I'm still searching for matches for these epigraphic titles and names to actual locations. One day I might get lucky, we'll see. It was originally prepared with 6 painted folios, but the first 2 were damaged and replaced with yellow Nepalese paper folios. That means this actually survived out of Nepal. Each surviving panel in this manuscript depicts a deity, various bodhisattvas and Buddhist goddesses such as Vajradhara, seated inside a multi-tiered shrine structure. Thin yellow lines over black background are used to draw intricate patterns on the architecture, such as the roundels on the tree-lobed arch seen here. When the last 2 painted pages are opened, for example, an identical multi-tiered shrine structure as a framing visual device of each painted panel appears 6 times, 3 on each page, and it sort of adds to that sense of this being trying to emulate an architectural space. More importantly, the depiction of human figures supplicating the goddess Vajradhara on folio 216 verso provides a unique example where we can see the realization of the concept of the interior of a manuscript as a temple space. And I think this image has been all over this museum. I was shocked to see it that big size, because these manuscripts are quite small, and the panel size is about 6 centimeters by 5. So you have to imagine this. It's actually quite petite if these are miniature. Donor figures are rarely represented in Eastern Indian Buddhist manuscripts. When they are included, they are depicted in a separate panel engaged in a ritual action relating to the book worship. The donor family in the Sanford manuscript is represented pictorially outside the frame of painted panels. So you rarely have anyone coming outside of a painted panel. They are really strict about keeping everyone in line. But here, an exception is made. They seem to be within a temple space paying homage to the goddess Vajradhara installed inside the main shrine, surrounded by the deities installed in their respective niches. So on either side of the Vajra panel, you can see small human figures. The 2 green male figures might be the main donor and maybe his eldest son or family relation that's close to him, and probably female members of the family on the other side. And main donor actually holds incense burner and he holds a garland. So you actually do have all these objects that are represented that are part of the ritual offerings to the deity inside the shrine. What I would like to draw your attention to is also how there's this familiar backdrop that is the same color as this. So in a way, it's really extending visually, making sure that you connect this space of Vajradhara shrine and these donor figures as if they are sort of extension of that shrine space, right? And when seen together in the context of an open book, the bodhisattvas and the other goddesses surrounding this scene seem to be bearing witness to this devotional act of paying homage to the goddess, and they seem to be giving blessing donors. The use of the shrine structure as a framing device in manuscript paintings, as seen in these examples, is considered by scholars as signaling a regional pictorial style, most probably that of the ancient regions of Anga and Narendra, or northern Bengal, in the 12th century. This observation is plausible given the paleographic and stylistic indications, but that argument actually solely based on a single manuscript from Vikramasila Monastery, where you do have a beautiful architectural framing device represented here. So I do think there is an element of regional characteristic there, but I would also like to emphasize that the architectural framing devices in painted panels were not just regionally specific motifs, but they should also be understood as reflecting a concerted effort on the part of 12th century Buddhist manuscript makers in Bengal, who introduced, and they were introducing and visually the conception of a book as a temple. So the 12th century Buddhist manuscripts articulate the idea of a manuscript as a temple most elaborately. But from the very beginning, the fundamental structure of an iconography program in a painted Buddhist manuscript emulated the prevailing template for designing a three-dimensional sacred structure, such as a shrine, a temple, or stupa. A rectangular, occasionally square space for a painted panel is always demarcated and framed in a systematic manner, similar to the niches and framing devices rhythmically present in a temple's iconographic program. So borders like these do actually frame panels that appear in Buddhist temples and Hindu temples of medieval India. A similar structural layout is seen in olive painted palm leaf Jain manuscripts. For example, a 13th century palm leaf manuscript of the Sabhagapadikama Sutta Chunni, a commentary on the Jain monastic code of conduct, now in the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, features 6 painted panels. 2 sets of 2 panels at the beginning and 2 panels at the end, where the text ends and the colophon appears on folio 285. Each painted panel is framed by red lines on either side, clearly demarcating the pictorial space from that of the text. According to the colophon, which appears on this page actually, the manuscript was prepared in Aghata, identified as Ahar near present-day Udaipur in southern Rajasthan, by a scribe named Kamalachandra, a disciple of Pandit Ramachandra in 1260 Common Era. The first painting of the manuscript depicts Parshvanatha, as indicated by the snakehood and the color blue here. Facing this panel is a scene of a seated monk whose disciple holds a folio of a manuscript, with the rest of the manuscript open on a cross-legged book stand between them. So the rest of the manuscript is up here. It is important to note that the placement of this particular scene facing the Tirthankara, or the Parshvanatha, on folio, the first folio, rather than on the same folio. So if you have a choice of putting them in any layout, you could actually put this scene next to Parshvanatha. But instead they chose to put them sort of in front of Parshvanatha. And this is a very specific visual choice, actually. The 2 goddesses from Ambika and Saraswati, on the right side panel of folio, the first and second folio, if you look at them, you see how their eyes are interestingly pointing direction that will really direct your attention to what's happening here. So the goddesses really form a visual barrier to direct our view to the scene of teaching between disciple and the monk. On the other hand, the 2 goddesses on folio 285 verso are represented facing each other. Right? So they face each other, and their bodies are sort of, pulling in opposite direction as if they're framing the manuscript. And they almost look like they are created in the process of a fold-over painting. So these two panels create a visual field that ultimately encases the whole text and closes the back door of the manuscript. So these two snake goddesses, you notice that she actually holds a lot of snakes. With a clear reference to the Yaksha-Yakshi couple, Dhanendra and Padmavati, so they actually recall, if you're looking at the last folio, recall Varshvadat at the beginning of the manuscript. So they, in a way, form a group with the first folio. So even if you think about a space between them, it's like 230 something folios. It's pretty big stack, yet they kind of recall and make a complete program together. And this strategy is familiarly witnessed in the oldest group of painted Buddhist manuscripts prepared during the late 10th and 11th centuries. So I'm just giving you a diagram of a Buddhist manuscript where the first two folios and the last two folios form a set that will bring the whole thing together. And same thing is happening in a Jain manuscript, that these actually are brought together in a very, very coherent whole. So in this sense they're similar, but the similarity between the painted Jain manuscripts and the Buddhist examples ends at the level of the overall design strategy. The painted Jain manuscripts are often prepared in a more humble and pragmatic manner than their Buddhist counterparts. The folios are much shorter in the 12th century Jain manuscript prepared by Kamalachandra in comparison with those in the contemporary Buddhist manuscript from eastern India. In addition, in Kamalachandra's manuscript, the leaves are not of uniform size or in the best condition possible. So they were really using manuscript folios at whatever it was available, it seems. When put side by side with a nearly contemporaneous painted Buddhist Talmud manuscript from eastern India, the Jain manuscript actually looks like a more humble and practical object in comparison. It seems to have been made with any available Talmud folios. Unlike a painted Buddhist manuscript that functions as an elaborate ceremonial object, surviving Jain painted Talmud manuscripts seem to reflect an interest in a more immediate world and more practical values, the book as a text. So here you actually have an open book, and although it's not legible that the painter really did try to make a scribble to make it look like a text. And the figures of lay donors, monks, and nuns are frequently depicted in early painted Jain manuscripts, whereas there seems to have been a reluctance towards this practice in painted Buddhist manuscripts from eastern India. The historical figures in early painted Jain manuscripts are often identified with labels above or near them. For example, we can identify the dynamic scenes painted on a wooden book cover, or patli, in the Goenka collection Mumbai, as depicting an important historical event for the Shwetambara Jain community, partly thanks to clearly written labels accompanying the painted scenes. The painted panels depict scenes leading to the doctrinal debate between the Shwetambara monk, Devasuri, and the Diganbara monk, Kumudachandra, which according to a 14th century text, the Prabandha Chintamani, turned the king Siddharaja Jayasingha of Pattan, Gujarat, to support the Shwetambara monks over the Digambara sect. And this is actually a definitive moment for Shwetambara sect to gain momentum in Gujarat. A scene of instruction on the left side of the exterior of the Patni features two Shwetambara monks, and this is what I mean by it's always labeled. So you actually can identify this teacher who is seated on the throne, and again, they have a book in front of them in this court, and it actually tells you this is Sri Devasuri. And narrative moments are also identified through written labels. So you do see, for example, this is a story of Kumada Chandra, Sarva Pashyati. So if Kumada Chandra actually saw a snake right here. The practice of labeling seems to have been widespread in Jain circles, and it continued into the 14th century and beyond. We can surmise from these examples that there was little to no reservation in writing on the painted surface in Jain painted manuscripts. In fact, there seems to have been a more open-ended and relaxed attitude towards the painted Jain manuscript as a final product than in the Buddhist examples. We find many commentorial and editorial notes added on the pages of painted Jain manuscripts. At times, these are in the margins in a smaller subscript, but they are often written in a bold manner, highlighting their textual presence. So you can see that somebody was really writing on them several times and highlighting them. They're not really afraid to write on the book. And sometimes, if it's a very important book, you don't want to be writing on them. If it's a really deluxe edition, you don't want to be taking notes on them. But and this is actually deluxe edition in a way. It actually has gold laid all over the place, yet there's an attitude towards it that is slightly different from Buddhist ones, because the Buddhist manuscripts, if you look very closely, there are signs of correction and editorial marks, but they are really careful about erasing them to make it look perfect, seemingly perfect. So there is a different approach to how you actually make manuscripts, slightly. So we have looked at Buddhist and Jain manuscripts. What about the Hindu manuscript? We have very little knowledge of all the painted palm leaf manuscripts of what may be called Hindu texts, in part because there seem to be very few surviving examples from the period that concerns us here. As if confirming the assumption regarding the skepticism towards writing held in Orthodox Brahmanic traditions. So there is a belief in oral tradition, oral transmission of knowledge, that Vedic tradition is really afraid to, or that prohibits written transmission, is sort of the assumption. And perhaps the book was not regarded with the same degree of esteem amongst the Shaivas, Vaishnavas, or Shaktas of the time as in the Buddhist and Jain context. It is possible. However, if we start looking for a larger picture of a South Asian manuscript culture in relation to painted palm leaf manuscript production, we do see examples in the early centuries of painted we do see examples of what are arguably Hindu texts being made into painted manuscripts in the early centuries of painted palm leaf manuscript production in South Asia. So in Nepal, where painted Buddhist manuscript production took off almost simultaneously with that of Eastern India from the beginning of the 11th century, we find 11th and 12th century manuscripts of the Shaiva, Vaishnava, and Shakta texts prepared with splendidly painted wooden book covers. In fact, the palm leaf manuscript of the Nishvasa Tattva Samhita, a Shaiva Tantra text, now in the National Archives of Nepal, which is dated to the late 9th century on paleographic grounds, survives with painted book covers. So that's what we're looking at right now. On one, we see, so you actually have Happy Family of Shiva up there. And on the other cover is Shiva Mahesha with 8 goddesses. Here it is remarkable that the visual pillars, like this one, are already in use as motifs that define the spatial boundaries. 4 such columns are painted against a familiar colored background on each book cover, and they divide the long rectangular area into 3 spatial units. So they help convey a sense of architectural, temple-like space within which the deities depicted are positioned. So most surviving painted book covers of Nepalese Puranic and Tantric manuscripts of the 12th and the 13th centuries feature the architectural elements of a temple, like those we have seen in a Buddhist manuscript of the Ashtasastra Paramita. Along with ornamented columns in the book covers of the Nishvasa Tattva Samhita manuscript, canopies of richly decorated textiles, hanging tassels, and flower garlands function as spatial dividers and frame the painted space. architectural framing devices such as the intertwined kirtimuka and makara flaming arch. I'm sorry I don't have a detail, but this is makara. Again, this is kirtimuka and makara. You have to take my word for it. And if you are familiar with what Nepalese pavas and Tibetan tankas that are made by Nepalese artists in the 12th, 13th century, you would know this is a very common motif that appears in those paintings. And these architectural framing devices are actively adopted in the 13th century Nepalese manuscript cover, as seen here in this paper, blue black paper manuscript. So surviving examples suggest that it was a common practice in Nepal from the 9th century onwards to prepare a Hindu manuscript with painted wood covers in a manner similar to that used to design a temple space. It is rare, however, to find an olive palm leaf Hindu manuscript with painted folios like the Buddhist and Jain examples discussed above. A precious example of painted folios is seen in an early 12th century palm leaf manuscript of the Kupchika Matam, a tantric text relating to the worship of a goddess. This is also in the National Archives of Nepal. The manuscript has lost its painted covers, and the first and last folios have been damaged considerably. It is unfortunate that the last folio has lost 1/3 of its page, as it carries a date colophon bearing the name of a Pala king, Ramapala, and the name of the donor. So here, Maharaja Diraja Srimad Ramapala Devasya and Pravardhana, and then you would have the year. It's missing. If there is a fragment, I would like to find out. And the donor's name actually is quite interesting because he has apparently a type epithet called Yogini Putra. And the